Hi, gang. Hello, hello. Happy Thursday, everybody. Week is flying by, at least for me. Here is your Thursday poll question at Smerconish.com. Should every child born in the U.S. receive a one-time $1,000 government contribution into a tax-free investment account? What is that all about? I'll explain after first, speaking of money, thanking my friends at Parks Casino and Playgun Lake. Summertime, the beach, the boat, the lake, the boardwalk. Enjoy casino action and sports betting wherever you are all summer long with the BetParks app and the Playgun Lake app. Baseball, tennis, world soccer matches, plus the Pro Golf Tour. Live betting is better on the BetParks app and the Playgun Lake app. Bet individual player performance and game props as well. By the way, just thinking of sports, that conversation that I had yesterday with Jim Abbott got such a reaction, and I so enjoyed reacquainting myself with him. It was 2012 when I first interviewed him at Citizens Bank Park, and it was just great to have him back on the program. If you've not watched the interview, please go to my Facebook page and check it out. He's such a gentleman. I'll tell a funny story about him on radio today. So, BetParks and Playgun Lake, the only apps that I ever use and recommend to bet on sports and to play all my favorite casino games. Check out the new games on the BetParks app: Huff and More Puff, Mega Fire Blaze, Dwarves and Goblins, the Flintstones, plus Money Horse. Playgun Lake and BetParks, all the usual casino games, all the sports betting, all the fun stuff. Right now, you get a $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. That has to be wagered. Go to betparks.com or playgunlake.com. Download the app right now and enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. You've got to be 21 and in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or Maryland for BetParks, and 21 and in Michigan for Playgun Lake. You love to play, you play to win. BetParks and Playgun Lake. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Yesterday, a lot of voting. I just love it. 35,811 votes cast on the Wednesday poll question, which was, should religious leaders be permitted to endorse political candidates in churches and other religious centers without losing their tax-exempt status? I knew it would be overwhelming, and I was in the majority. 83.68% of us said, no, religious leaders should not be permitted to endorse political candidates in churches and other religious centers without losing. If you want to do it, then pay your taxes, is the bottom line. Why was I asking this? I was asking this because of this out of the blue determination by the IRS pertaining to the Johnson Amendment, named for Lyndon Johnson, not while he was president, but while he was in the United States Senate in 1954. It restricted 501c3 tax-exempt organizations, including churches and religious institutions, from engaging in partisan political activity. And that's been the standard ever since. It doesn't mean there haven't been controversies when religious leaders have endorsed political candidates. I referenced something that I remember from the 84 or 88. I think 84 Republican National Convention, being in a room where Jerry Falwell was there at the RNC, Charlton Heston was there. It was actually kind of funny because Falwell looked over at Heston, then the president of the NRA, and in a 10 Commandments, the movie reference said, with Moses on our side, I don't know how we lose. Very funny. The Catholic bishops, with regard to Joe Biden, do you remember them questioning his Catholicism relative to his stance on abortion? Jeremiah Wright in 2008, that was a huge issue with Obama. And any number of black pastors who over the years have endorsed candidates from the pulpit. But here's the thing. There's been no enforcement of the Johnson Amendment. There's been no enforcement of it. It's existed, but they really haven't enforced it. And now the IRS has moved to allow political engagement from churches. It's perceived to be a win for evangelical groups because of the Texas case that brought this all to light. I read yesterday from what I think is the most important aspect of this carve-out, one that might significantly increase politicking in churches. The agency said that if a house of worship endorsed a candidate to its congregants, the IRS would view that not as campaigning, but as a private matter, like a family discussion concerning candidates. quote, thus communications from a house of worship to its congregation in connection with religious services through its usual channels of communication on matters of faith do not run afoul of the Johnson Amendment as properly interpreted, said the IRS. And again, this was in a motion filed to resolve a lawsuit in Texas. So, the questions that I asked yesterday stand today from a house of worship. What if it comes from, the mothership, whatever that might be in a particular faith? What about other nonprofits? If there's this carve out for religious institutions from the 501c3 standard, what if I'm a not for profit generally? What about a yard sign in front of a church or a synagogue or a mosque? Can they advertise? And what I most fear is that this is going to diminish a great mingle venue, houses of worship. Yes, you have religion in common, but maybe little else. I think it's a good thing. Go to church, go to the synagogue, go to the mosque, go wherever. I don't want to be exclusionary in any respect. I'm for any place people are getting together and breaking bread. Okay? From today's newsletter, from Yahoo Finance, pretty soon every newborn American will be the proud owner of their very own Trump account. See, the minute that I mention President Trump in connection with this, it's going to poison the well for voting on today's Thursday poll question, but this is what brings it to light. President Trump's sprawling tax law creates a new tax-advantaged investment account pre-funded with $1,000 for each child born from the beginning of 2025 through the end of 2028. Kids born before this year are eligible for the IRA-style accounts, but not the $1,000 seed money. Under this new program, parents will have the option to open Trump accounts for any child under the age of 18 at a bank of their choice. Contributions will be capped at $5,000 a year, including up to $2,500 tax-free from a parent's employer. The money grows tax-free until it's withdrawn and must be invested in a broader stock index. Yahoo Finance says progressives have long pitched a version of the idea known as baby bonds. Well, that's right. And we were ahead of the curve on this because in mid-June and just last Saturday on my CNN program, economist Derek Hamilton from the New School was my guest. He was a great guest. And the reason that he was my guest is because years ago, 25 years ago, he was one of the original architects of this idea of a baby bond. But he's not for this incarnation of it. And I remember when he was on radio in mid-June, and I said to him, well, Professor, why not take half a loaf? And he explained because he said that he thinks it runs completely contrary to what he and others who were supportive of the initial concept of baby bonds were envisioning. I'll tell you the point of disagreement in a moment. Let me just go back 2-3 weeks when I had him on the program. There was an Associated Press story that I thought framed this nicely. It began as follows. When children of wealthy families reach adulthood, they often benefit from the largesse of parents in the form of a trust fund. It's another way they get a leg up on less affluent peers who may receive nothing at all or even be expected to support their families. But what if all children, regardless of their family's circumstances, could get a financial boost when they turn 18? That's the idea behind a House GOP proposal backed by President Trump. It would create tax-deferred investment accounts, coined Trump accounts, for babies born in the U.S. over the next 4 years, starting each of them with $1,000. And at age 18, they could withdraw the money to put down a down payment for a home, for their education, or to start a business. If the money is used for other purposes, it'll be taxed at a higher rate. Okay, so wherein lies the problem with this, according to Professor Hamilton and others? He said, and he said this to me on radio, and he also said it in this AP story, that the GOP proposal would actually exacerbate rather than reduce wealth gaps. When he dreamed up baby bonds, he envisioned a program that would be universal, but would give children from poor families a larger endowment than their wealthier peers in an attempt to level the playing field. The money would be handled by the government, not by private firms on Wall Street. What he essentially said to me was, I'm trying to close this growing divide, this income inequality, to give legs up, to give a leg up to those who are at the lowest rung of the socioeconomic ladder. All this is going to do is exacerbate the divide, because much like a 529 program, if you've funded those for any of your kids' education, and I have, it will be the wealthier who will make those contributions. And so, when child A from a lower income community gets to 18, in comparison to child B from suburbia born to, economically speaking, a well-to-do family, when they now get to 18, the divide is going to be even more significant, because the family of 18-year-old in the B category will have been funding that program. So, yeah, there'll be some money there. There will be some money there for the less fortunate, but they're going to be even farther behind than they would have been if this program didn't exist. It took me a while to wrap my head around it, because I couldn't understand when he came on the program. I'm like, hey, you thought of this, and now some form of it is taking hold. And his point to me was, yeah, but this is running contrary to what I envisioned, and it's going to make it worse. He wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post. And in the Washington Post piece, he said the following. Bear with me just one moment. Got it. Yeah, he actually co-authored this with Ayanna Pressley, the Democrat from Massachusetts. Quote, I'm just picking it up midstream. Trump accounts are structured to benefit primarily more affluent families, those who already have money to invest. For those struggling to put food on the table or afford a doctor's visit, the choice isn't between consumption and investment, it's between groceries and medicine. Though many Americans could use real support, such as extra cash when a new baby arrives, the Republican bill moving through the Senate threatens to slash essential programs, leaving families worse off. And ironically, it contains no provision to protect low-income recipients from the benefit cliff, the asset limits that could disqualify them from essential services such as housing or income support once they reach adulthood. In other words, he said, hey, the money that gets funded for that 18-year-old less fortunate could come back to haunt them, because now who knows where things will stand when they turn 18. It may preclude them, because they have this asset, from receiving financial assistance that would otherwise come their way. It's a really, really interesting issue. And I was surprised, because I last night, I said to TC, what day was Derek Hamilton on the program? And she said to me, June 13. And I quickly went back to the archives at Smerconish.com of our prior poll questions. We go back for, I think, 3 weeks. I have to look into that. I'd love us to have the ability to go back, since we've started these poll questions. And I thought, well, I was surprised to see that I didn't ask the question on that day, nor on any of the days surrounding. So I thought, this is the day, Thursday, the 10th of July, 2025, to ask this question, given that it's now come law. And one other confession of sorts, I did not realize that this stood and now is part of, the big, beautiful bill. I didn't know whether it was something that at the last minute was deleted from the bill before President Trump signed it, until I read the Yahoo story that is in today's newsletter. All of which is a long-winded but very important explanation as to today's poll question. Should every child born in the U.S. receive a one-time $1,000 government contribution into a tax-free investment account? I'm a no vote. We already have means like this established for those who frankly don't need the assistance that this is trying to provide. So while in the abstract it sounds like a good idea, hey, everybody gets a nest egg. I think that Professor Hamilton made some good observations and that there was another way that this should have been done that would include helping along the way that less fortunate. Income inequality is a huge problem. You look at the response to Zohran Mamdani in New York City. Going to talk a little bit about him on radio today. You look at the public outpouring, and I realize the Mangione case and the alleged murder of that healthcare executive on 54th Street. There's a lot going on in those issues, but there is a growing antipathy among a lot of people. And you don't have to be less fortunate to share this view that it's gotten out of hand, that all of those things that Bartlett and Steele, writing for the Philadelphia Inquirer years ago, I hope when I make that reference, you get what I'm talking. Yeah, you do. You're sophisticated listeners and viewers on YouTube. But Bartlett and Steele, America, What Went Wrong? That was in the mid 90s. I think I need to go back and reread that book. Sadly, it stands up. And I hosted both of them for a book club event, a live book club event at the Bucks County Playhouse in New Hope, Pennsylvania, when they wrote a follow-up. And it was a really, really instructive evening and book. So, all right. I feel like I'm blathering on here. So go vote on today's poll question at Smerconish.com. Now you're dialed in on it. Should every child born in the U.S. receive a one-time $1,000 government contribution into a tax-free investment account? Go vote. Like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe and set yourself up for notifications. Sometimes, like today, I need to begin a bit early, and some days I may need to begin a bit late. So I want to make sure you're always getting those notifications. All right? Turn on a friend to my YouTube page as well. I think we've got a good thing going here. See you, gang. Have a great day.